born and raised in Johnstown, Pennsylvania.
That's very famous for a flood that occurred.
Actually, it was an 1889 flood where a dam burst.
Broke, yeah.
And in 1932, I think it was, we actually had a flood from a lot of heavy rains.
Oh, wow.
That year they also had floods in the Ohio River area in Pittsburgh. So,
wow.
Matter of fact, we lived out in the country, and my dad worked in the post office, and he was trapped in the post office for 2 or 3 days.
Ow.
I applied and was able to get into West Point and graduated in 1950.
Wow.
I spent 12 years on active duty. I had different assignments. I was in the Corps of Engineers. I went to Alaska for 2 years and then came back and went to Fort Belvoir, was the engineer branch school. Came back and went there, and eventually I went back to Korea actually for 14 months, I guess in 55, 56, somewhere in that area. I met my wife in Washington, D.C. Her uncle was in the Army, and her cousin married a classmate of mine.
Oh, okay.
And we met. She came to Washington, D.C. when I was at Fort Belvoir, and we met when she was there. She was actually there for a little while and then went away and then came back for the wedding later on. But we had a blind date that first time. So anyway, that's where I met her.
How long have you been married to
Jojo? 52 years in March.
52. Well, congratulations. That's an accomplishment.
Yeah,
right there.
it is, yeah.
And you've got 4 kids?
4 kids.
2 boys and 2 girls?
2 girls. The oldest are 2 girls and 2 boys. The oldest daughter's in Boston right now. She lives in Belmont. We had 2 girls, and then I wanted to keep going because I wanted a boy. So nowadays people might stop with 2, but anyway, Jennifer is in Topeka, Kansas. And Michael is running Coyle Engineering, and very interesting, our youngest son, Pat, is one of our associate pastors at our church here. Before I went to West Point, the Army sent me back to get a master's degree in civil engineering at MIT.
Oh, wow.
And that's because I really didn't have any advanced studies in engineering, and that I went there before we went to West Point. I still got out of the Army in '62, and we came back to Texas because JoJo's from San Antonio, my wife, and we were in Austin for 3 years, and I got my PhD at UT Austin.
Okay.
I finished, got my PhD in 1965, and at the time I could have gone to Texas Tech. They wouldn't keep me at UT Austin because in those days they weren't hiring people that was getting their degree there.
Right.
Could have gone to University of Houston, Texas Tech, or A&M. And I chose A&M primarily because of the Corps cadets.
Oh, yeah.
And my background at West Point in the Army and everything.
Sure.
So we came here in '65. I started getting active in the local thing, and I became the president of the branch, and then I became vice president of technical, and then I became president of the Texas section.
Sure.
All of these dates go up to the time I came here in '65 until I was president of the Texas section in '80, '81.
Okay. So of your 4 kids, did any of those turn out to be civil engineers or go to engineering?
Yes. My son Michael, who's my oldest son, got his degree here. Believe it or not, I had him in class.
Oh, wow.
And that was very interesting. One of the other things that I did within the Texas section, I served on an ad hoc committee in 1991 on, this was formed within the Texas section some way, trying to get graduating seniors to stay in civil engineering.
Yeah.
And that was just something I did here at A&M. I got out to Word as best I could and talked to the graduating seniors and did other things to try to convince them that once they graduate, they need to get into civil engineering and stay there. So that was one of the other things I did.
That's great.
Simon Reese, when I was working on my PhD at UT, he was my chairman. And I spent a lot of time with him, and I was teaching some lab courses and stuff like that. And there were other people there within the geotechnical area at that time, but Lyman's the one that I got to know, because of working closely with him. I would consider him one of my mentors, as far as my future in teaching as a professor and doing research and that type of thing. What happened was my PhD dissertation was on pile foundations, and Lyman Reese was doing research at that time. And what I did when I was there, we ran tests on piles and we instrumented them with strain gauges. We measured skin friction and point load. And then there was a computer program at that time, which I did not develop, but I think it actually came from Lyman's work, actually loaded a pile program where you could generate a load settlement curve
Mm-hmm.
instead of running a test.
Right.
Okay. And what I did in clays to start off with, later on I did it myself. When I got over here, I started doing, Lyman was what really wasn't doing the strain gauge deal. I started that over here. Measuring skin friction and point bearing, and then we could input this into this program, compute the capacity with versus certain movements
Right.
as a result of load tests, and then determine or compute a load settlement curve.
Okay.
And after I got over here, the highway department and other research, I was able to get money to support that research. We ran tests in sand.
All different soil conditions.
Yes, all different soil conditions. And I also got interested when I got here. I did these papers that I have here. I did some work on retaining walls. We actually measured, again, on the back of a retaining wall, instrumenting them and measured the pressure distribution back there. To see, what I've forgotten, there were two ways in the textbooks they could do this, and I was measuring this to see how it compared with what people were using. I was really interested in making measurements and comparing them with the different procedures and theories that were being used at that time to design retaining walls and deep foundations.
Yeah.
That was my big thing. I just really enjoy doing that. Civil engineering is exciting.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there are so many different things that you can get involved in. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
there's all the areas of structures and geotech and, what are some of the other ones? Pavement design, water resources, there's so environmental, so many different things that you can get involved in depending on what your interests are.
Yeah.
I ended up doing some consulting work for offshore oil companies because of the research I was doing on pile foundations.
Oh, yeah.
And so, that kind of a thing, and every time I went to the Offshore Technology Conference meeting, there were people there that I knew, like Dawn and other people I had worked with. And, it was exciting because they were using the results of my research. And I was given papers saying, okay, here's what I measured, and this is what we're recommending that you do, So that's what is that? That's fulfillment
Oh, yeah.
of what you're trying to do as an engineer, a civil engineer.
Sure. Well, in closing, I'm going to ask you one other question. Would you do it all over again?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Okay, well,
I can't think of anything. Oh, I made some mistakes along the way, I'm sure, if I really got into it, but, oh, no, I just, my life has been really, I'm not just exciting, but satisfying.
Yeah.
I have enjoyed it. I can't imagine people who have a job that they go to work every day and they don't like it.
Yeah.
They're just going to work to, to earn money and, take care of their family, whatever. But, it's just been real good experience.
That's good.